the Dadless podcast group. I am the elder. This is HD.
We're back. I'm back.
We took a little hiatus. Things have happened. Life happened. This was unexpected, to say the least. I will say that I have been networking since our little break that we've taken. I've had some time to kind of spend with myself.
Mm-hmm.
My main goal, hey, if we could get to 100, and that's fucking it.
100 follows?
Episodes.
100 episodes.
No, 100 episodes. No,
I was like, I think we're past that.
We're past that. We have like a very consistent following.
Okay.
And we have a very like rabid following in Germany, which is fucking hilarious.
I'm trying to think of a German word that I know, but I can't off the top of my head.
Au 99 Luftballons auf ihrem Weg zum Horizont hin.
I think if it's a niche, yeah.
It is a niche. The other day we had a family member come down and they were like, hey, what happened to your podcast? And I was like, hey, like life happened and, we were depressed and stuff. I was depressed.
I was anxious.
You were going to school, as you should. Flowers to you. Accept them lovingly.
Sure.
But he was like, hey, like you guys should do that again. It's, it's neat that you guys are doing that. I said, yeah, maybe one day, but that day has come.
The day has arrived.
Have a nice little soft open. Like I said, I've been trying to do some networking just to get us out there. I've attended 3 Comic-Cons so far this year, although local and small. It is intimidating to fucking just go up to someone and be like, hey,
check us out.
And give them a sticker and give them a whole spiel and you talk to them and try to like see what they're about. I'm not that type of person.
I think you think that you're not, but you're actually really outgoing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that maybe, but I don't. Like outside of this space, like for work, I have to be that person. I have to insert myself into a certain zone and, make phone calls and knock at the door and, like just show up.
Right.
Outside of that, like I'm not that. I don't feel that way anyway. I don't feel that way. And so I am pretty happy that I've been able to do that.
Yeah. Because
I'm like, hey, I see that you paint. I'm the elder. This is the Dadless podcast group. Here's a sticker. This is what we do.
We don't paint.
But you do.
Hey, let's just put a happy little mountain, something about like that. And let's paint several little happy trees and push. Look at there.
It's been a cool process.
Yeah.
It's also been really embarrassing. I had to just take this show on the road, you know what I mean?
To be fair.
To sell that snake oil.
I think that's cool, though, that you stepped out of your comfort zone and then you went to go do all that.
It's been interesting. I've talked to a lot of fucking really cool people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had, like, a lot of real cool interactions and trading of, like, here's a sticker. Oh, there's a business card. Oh, this is a keychain. Oh,
Oh, this is a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
This is a Babe Ruth rookie card. Every time, and I will say selfishly, I go and I wear my fucking, like my DPG fucking merch. And I go and like stick my chest out like this and make sure that my little fanny pack doesn't cover the logo. My tits are a little out, so like you can't, they're like, what the fuck does that say?
A-skin sells.
Dadless. I'm like, no, Dadless, fuck. What the fuck does your shirt say, you fat fuck? And I'm like, no, look.
No.
I'm like, oh, look, if I press them together, you can see. But it's been cool. The one thing though, I've had one interaction, and literally it goes like really enthusiastic, like kind of in the gray area where it's like, okay, cool, sounds cool, awesome.
I'll check it out.
I'll check it out. Most of them actually have been like really positive.
Okay.
They're like, hey, cool. Like, hey, if you could come up to where I'm at, and this, that, and the other, I'm like, okay, like that's maybe I can.
What do you mean? Like go up and shoot a show, like an episode?
That's the one thing, and I'm like, hey, we're not that big, unless you have a guy that can record, and then maybe. But I've had people like, hey, like I work, up here, like in the Sacramento area, like if you come up and like we could talk, whatever. I'm like, I might take you up on that.
Why not?
Not even might, like I would. I definitely would. Like even if I have to go by myself, I don't care.
Well, no, I think we should definitely be more consistent with it.
Some of the engagement is real cool, especially when you can get them like on certain aspects of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the one like embarrassing engagement that I had, it was at the Lodi Comic-Con, which amazing Comic-Con for being a local show.
Yeah.
Huge fucking venue. And we're walking around and we're seeing everything and I'm chopping it up like here and there, like, hey, we have a show and fucking bop bop bop. And they're like, hey, like I'll check it out, whatever. Like get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, all right, cool, sorry. You're holding up my line. I did. I felt bad for one guy. I held up his whole line. I didn't give a fuck. I was talking to him for a minute. His homeboy wanted to chop it up, and I was like, I ain't talking to you, bitch. I'm talking to this fucking guy right here. But I met an artist. His name escapes me. I have his card in the house, but he drew like very metal inspired. Like his art was very metal inspired. Come to find out,
Like punk?
no, like metal, like heavy metal.
Okay.
I couldn't give you an example. I don't know if you know
Give me a band.
Cannibal Corpse.
This is about shooting blood from your cock. I come blood.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So I'm exactly. What the fuck? Don't waste my time, guy. Come on. So I'm, talking to him and I'm like, hey, like, I really like what you're doing. Like, your artwork's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to like pitch the show to him and whatever. And I'm like, it'd be cool to talk to you. And he's like, yeah, awesome.
That was it?
But his cadence was very flat. Like you could tell he's a very like soft-spoken guy.
Uh-huh.
And it's fucking crazy because he's huge. My boy is obviously a bodybuilder outside of like what he's doing.
Okay.
Do you know who Kai Green is?
No.
Kai Green is a competitive like bodybuilder, like think Mr. Olympia.
Okay.
Massive.
Yeah.
Fucking guy's huge, but turns out he's like a huge fucking nerd and he draws like comics and shit. So the guy at the Comic-Con is...
Big guy.
But he has this little fucking like...
Like the voice doesn't match the...
Hey, I've been drawing for a few years.
Uh-huh.
And he was hitting me with like one or two words. Like I was talking to people and they're like, hey, that's pretty cool. Where are you from? And I'm like, we're, based out of Riverbank, Modesto area. Where are you from? Oh, hey, Northern California. So you talk back and forth, whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't giving me shit, dude. Nothing. He was deading a lot of like where I was trying to like catch him. I'm like, hey, like a lot of the stuff, it reminds me of like metal.
Yeah.
And then he just stops and he's like, yeah, I like metal. What the fuck, dude? I'm like, I'm trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you have a nice day.
He wasn't there for engagement, man.
Like, he wasn't. He was even like in a back corner.
Yeah.
Like just away from everybody.
He was there for business. Which is, like, I mean, that's business, right? Is networking, but not that kind of business.
And it makes it fucking worse because then here comes some guy, like a normal Chad walks up. He's like, like your booth. And here's my stupid ass like, well, I have these stickers for you. I didn't give a fuck.
It's because you didn't take the hot dog sticker, man.
I did.
Ah.
That was the one that people were like, hot dog? What do you mean? I was like, is it a sandwich? I don't know. What do we do? It made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, hey, fucking, we gotta go. See ya.
He's like, okay, see you later. I think there'll be moments.
It really shit on the situation. So far, though, a lot of like real cool engagement. And like,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, some of these people actually like listen.
I mean, yeah, man. I think like you said, the things that we talk about maybe fill a niche, especially in Germany. Shout out to the Germans. I still have yet to go at any Comic-Con. I need to.
Funny enough, Stockton Con is coming up in July.
Is it a weekend?
It is a weekend. SAC Anime is coming up, and that's the big one. That's the one that I would like to go to.
Okay.
That one, the first time that I went was back when My Hero was about to drop. And the entire panel was there. They said, hey, this is Deku. This is, Nezuko. Not part of My Hero.
No.
You know what I mean?
What's that? Ochaku?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
But those two, as far as like the Comic-Cons go, I would like to go. Because locally, Stockton Con, shout out to Stockton Con, is held in the Stockton Arena.
Okay.
It's 2 floors, and it's, big venue. It's popping.
Yeah.
It's cool. SAC Anime is the fucking big one. It's held in like a huge convention center, and they have panels, and
Known people.
people within the industry go, and I think that's tight too. Last movie that I went to go see was the new Transformers movie, The Rise of the Beast.
We're not talking about Optimus's dick.
I'm talking about that beast. When I was a kid, like Transformers for me, I guess, like tried to equate it to anything, is one of those franchises that I know I'd brought up to Jose in, past conversation. I'm like, these are franchises that have carried on with me and that are very endearing to me. Mm-hmm. Transformers, TMNT, Power Rangers, any incarnation of them. To know that they're still going, that there is a fan base. It's a cool feeling to know that like more people know them. Think Pokemon. Well, you were a child. I was a fucking child.
Yeah.
When this happened, and it was we saw it from grow into the phenomenon that it is, and then to now you know, within the same vein of Pokemon, to have it pass the torch, and, you know, Ash is no longer the main character, but now it's this new character.
2 new characters. I can't think of their name off the top of my head, but it's 2 main characters.
But to know that kids are still very into it.
And I wouldn't say just kids, man.
No, adults too. You know, I'm sure that there are adults that are going to stick with the series now.
Yeah.
Critique it and be like, oh, this is my Pokemon.
I hate that so much.
Only 151 when I grew up. Okay. It's the same thing with Transformers. You know, initially I seen all the initial comments that came out on like movie review sites, you know, things like IGN, like things that I follow, that I use, you know, when I'm looking forward to movies. And people are, you know, giving their initial like 2 cents leading into everything. Well, this is what I grew up.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was, you know, and you're like, it's not for fucking just us anymore, dude. Like, this is bigger than us. They weren't specifically like, hey, Javi, when I make Transformers Rise of the Beasts,
this is for you.
This is for you. That ain't the case, you know? It has to apply to multiple demographics, ages, backgrounds. Everybody has to fucking enjoy it.
Well, I think that's what you see with the whole, like, Disney thing right now, with, like, the Disneyfication of, like, shows and stuff.
You know, to bring it fucking around back to what I was saying anyway. Being in that setting and watching the movie, it really, for whatever reason, triggered a lot of, like, very positive feelings for me.
Yeah.
To see certain references, to hear certain, like, key words that came up in the fucking movie, to see certain imagery, to see certain scenes, certain characters.
Run-ups to your maximize!
I have these fucking moments when things like that happen, and I'm like, it made me feel fucking good. I'm sure there's a school of people that would, you know, certain individuals that would turn around and be like, it's fucking pathetic. What are you, a baby?
It's mid. Whatever people want to say, you know.
You know, it meant a lot for me. Like, it took me back to being a kid.
Innocence.
And reacting to that same thing with that same wonder and enjoyment, which I'm sure the filmmakers are like, hey, like, this is... Which I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, I'm sure the acting ain't going to be on par for some people. The story won't be on par. The whatever the fuck happens.
Right.
It's a movie. I get it. Fucking, hey, you know, that's not real. Well, yeah, hey, no, my fucking little mid-size doesn't turn into a robot, you know? So you're going to tell me that a robot turns into that? What the fuck? You know, it's...
Yeah.
Okay, cars can't turn into... Your car's an animal, okay. You know, there's plenty of fucking qualms and shit like that. Like,
I think people are overly critical, though. I think, like you said, obviously I follow, like, IGN, for example. And there's no hate against IGN. But I think they gave it, what, like a 7?
They gave it a 7, which across the board, I've seen nothing more than an 8. And I feel like a 7 was a very honest opinion on how it turned out. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm not going to tell you that it was a fucking 10.
Well, no, not everything can be.
Not everything can be. I get, you know, understandably. Yeah. I think for people that are in the know or that have knowledge of the source material or whatever it is, it didn't leave you with like a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Not for me anyway, but that's my own individual fucking opinion.
I think critics are just people that are like in bad moods.
You know, you could compare it to like the Google metric for like the consumer metric was like a 96.
Is that like the audience score?
That's like the audience score. Rotten Tomatoes and like IMDb and stuff gave it like, you know, average. It was mid. You know, and I can't argue that with you.
Yeah.
I can't. I take a lot of that shit into account.
Right.
I'm actually like very good about taking those things into account. Early reviews. You know, a big example is like the Secret Invasion. IGN.
Another 7.
Came up. Another 7. You know, they're like, hey, it's fine. Okay. I'm not going to argue with you. It's something that comes up for multiple franchises, different mediums. You know, recently, whatever the studio's name is, they released that Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Gollum. Man, I can't think of the studio right now off the top of my head, but that's fair, though, because the game did come out, like, really buggy.
So in comparison to that, there was a game that came out. I want to say it's like Redfall?
Yeah, on Xbox.
I was looking forward to it.
Dude, I almost bought an Xbox because of it.
Oh, my Lord, and it received horrible fucking reviews. It tanked.
So Microsoft, for like a long time now, has been dropping the ball on like exclusives. I guess Halo wasn't too good either, like the most recent one. But Starfield is the next big one. Have you heard of it?
I haven't, no.
Have you heard of No Man's Sky? It's kind of like that, but more story driven. And you're like a space ranger and you're looking for some sort of MacGuffin, right? I don't know. Point is, they're saying that that's slated to be the next big Microsoft game. But it's like in comparison to what? Because they don't really have much. Like they let Redfall down, they let Halo or people down with Halo. I think the really big thing that they still have going for them right now that's good is Forza and Game Pass.
Game Pass, I will say, as someone who has an Xbox, especially Game Pass, and the introduction of now utilizing or not utilizing, but introducing the EA catalog as well, without having to have that membership, it's fantastic. There's a lot of games in there that have come and gone, but then there are the games that stay there.
Yeah.
That luckily, like, I've been able to keep. It's a cool thing for me, you know?
And I think it gives you access to games that maybe you wouldn't be willing to pay full price for, but maybe you see a video of it and you're like, I think that's cool. Like, I'll try it out.
To bring it around in full circle, that was going to be Redfall. And as soon as it tanked, I was like, well, there goes that. The same thing for Gollum.
To be fair, even Gollum was looking kind of iffy from the start, in my opinion.
I think where it sways you is definitely in trailers.
Yeah.
I think trailers definitely sway you.
Well, media in general, like, it could potentially look great. Like, I thought Doctor Strange was going to be fantastic.
Which one?
The newest one. But that's because I like Doctor Strange. And the first one was great.
So I will preface, I'll let you go off kink. I didn't mind it.
And here's the thing. It wasn't the worst either. Like,
No.
I'm not saying it was Dark World status, because I still think Dark World is the worst Marvel movie. Things in media recently have been made to look really good. But then it just, I don't know, it seems like empty calories at this point with certain things. Like, I remember that was me with Cyberpunk. I was so excited.
Cyberpunk, I was definitely on that train because I was fresh off of, like, The Witcher.
Yeah.
And I was 100%
Behind CDPR.
I could say probably the same thing for Gearbox.
Okay.
Devoted. They won't do anything wrong.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is, like, now, with using that as an example and carrying with that, Cyberpunk is great. I'm actually replaying it right now because I'm watching Edge Runners, and it's dope. It's super cool. I'm on, like, episode 5. But that's the thing is, it's great now, years down the line. I just feel like, as an industry, like, things have gone down in quality just to increase the quantity of what they're putting out.
Where do we draw the line as far as media,
Okay.
TV and movies? Where does that take note as far as original IP? Because if you look at, especially
Good old Disney Plus.
Disney as an example, where I feel that there's a lack of original IP that they could be using, because I don't want to say that it's a lack of creativity. I'm sure that there are plenty of people there that could write an amazing fucking story.
Yeah, I think it's nothing against the creators, right? Or, like, it's nothing against the artistry behind it. Because, like you said, there's amazing people behind that, I'm sure.
But if you notice the trend, and I brought this up with, shout out to Cortland Tyler, go check out his episode. I brought this up, and, well, he brought it up as well. The lack of original IP is that there is too much live action adaptations. I can honestly tell you, especially using it as the latest example, and you and I have talked about it before, is now that it's officially, available, is The Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
I myself have no interest in watching it. And it's nothing against the actress. It's nothing against the studio.
Yeah.
It's nothing against, like, hey, they're not.
It's no race card. No race card.
It's none of that. I have no interest in it. I would rather, I could say I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It's, and again, it's one of those franchises that I find very endearing and that I'm very invested in. But I don't give a fuck for more Star Wars adapted shows, miniseries. I don't want to see more, like The Mandalorian's fine. It's cool.
But it's like, where do you draw the line?
So a big one for me when it came up was the live action Lilo and Stitch. I have 100% no fucking interest in seeing that. I don't even care to humor the fucking idea of a live action adaptation of that. On the one hand, it's because of all the bullshit that comes with it. Well, this person isn't native enough. And, this character isn't old enough. I don't fucking care.
Like, it's getting too political.
It is very political now. And that's just because of, like, the climate that we live in,
Super polarized.
And we've talked about that plenty of times before, just because it is the arena in which we conduct ourselves now, which is fine. That's, if you are in the know, it's almost a comparison to something that like the Nomad and I talked about a while back. It's that wrestlers don't want to compete in the WWE because of the actions of Vince McMahon. You have to understand, this isn't the fucking 70s and 80s or the 60s for that matter, people aren't in that same mindset. People are too educated and too in the know and too progressive to want to be associated with
Vince,
with toxicity. You know what I mean? But to relate that to like the whole Disney idea, it's just unfortunate that there's so much bullshit that has to come with the adaptation or with, you know, the idea of planning a reboot or a live action adaptation or, you know, anything within that line of like media.
Right.
I don't enjoy that. I really don't.
I think there's two sides to that. So like, for example, The Little Mermaid, I have no interest in watching it just because I don't really care for The Little Mermaid. But I think it goes back to your whole Transformers argument where it's like, it's bringing in a new audience and that's great. But I feel like they could do that with a new IP. Like Frozen, when that came out, that was animated and it brought in a huge following. Princess and the Frog, huge following, one of the best Disney films. But what I'm saying is like, I feel like at this point, they're just doing it because it's a money grab. Because I don't know if you heard, but they're making a new Moana, a live action Moana. And it's like, that just came out in like 2016, 2017.
Brand new movie.
And it's like, why?
What can I say except you're welcome?
Lilo and Stitch, that's okay for me because Lilo and Stitch is like my favorite Disney movie, like animated film, so whatever. But like even like Lion King, I was like, whatever. Like I watched it, but it's stuff where it's like, I think that's the problem, where it's like people say, I'll watch it, I guess. And like these filmmakers know that, like these companies know that, these corporations know that, because we live in such a consumerist society. That's all it is. It's consumerism. And I feel like if it wasn't for the fact that we just consume all this fucking media, I think it'd be different.
So in addition to that, would it be wrong to think like that it's an issue of complacency? We become complacent as creators, not us. You know, obviously, I think we could probably make something pretty fucking cool.
Who knows?
I'm pretty fucking sick. But to tack onto what you're saying, it's we know that these people will fucking consume it.
Yeah.
We know that we can create a toy line and a clothing line, and this will be out in Disneyland, and people will come in fucking droves, and they'll want to see this Nubian queen that is out here swimming in the ocean. People are going to come to her because they're going to relate to her, and they're going to see themselves in her, and we can use that to our advantage. And, you know, we will market it as like, this is representation, but really it's like, this is fucking revenue.
Consumerism, yeah.
This is revenue for us, and we're just going to build this. And now we're going to make The Little Mermaid 2, and we're going to fucking adapt that. And now I'm going to have you believe that fucking Haley Bailey is now, you know, an adult Ariel, and that she has this little brown-skinned daughter that wants to be a mermaid just like her mom. And we're going to adapt that for everybody, and we're going to get the fucking money back again, and we're going to do a Big Hero 6. And you want to see live-action robots, right? You guys just saw fucking Rise of Optimus's fucking dick right here on screen. You want to see Baymax on fucking screen? And it's, when do we stop adapting shit that's okay already?
Yeah.
That are established and that are fine. Like, I want you to create something new. I want you to continue that same, like, not to be all fucking weird or whatever. Like, these people come to you to create and to build worlds and to bring people into these places that they've never seen.
Yeah.
Why not build on that? Why not utilize that?
Yeah. As
opposed to being like, well, like, okay, here's Sandra Bullock and she's, you know, the Wicked Witch or whatever. That's not Disney fucking related, but still, it's, you know.
For me, I think, like I said, it's never about being politically correct or just correct based off of what's going on right now and in society. I think for me, it's about creativity. And this is coming from someone that's like heavily invested into like video games, for example. Right before The Last of Us came out, the show on HBO, they remade The Last of Us 1. Even though they already remade it not that long before. And they were charging full price. They're charging like $60, $70, whatever. It's like you are remaking something twice over in the time span of a decade. And we buy it, you know? I didn't buy it, but I know the people that did. And they said it was great. And I'm like, yeah, it was great the first time too. And the second time. I'm sure it'd be great the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth. But people keep buying it. And so we go back to the whole Moana thing where it's like, that just came out. That's a new movie. Why are you remaking that? Why not instead spend time? Get the same cast if you want for that movie. Like, it doesn't matter if you want to do a live action thing. Keep that same cast, but do an IP, like a new IP. Take some time, even if you got to take 4 or 5 years, but it's lasting. like all these other films before that, like Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 was still great. I didn't watch Baymax. I don't know if that was good.
Still have not seen that movie.
It's not a movie, it's a show.
No. The like Big Hero 6.
Get out of here,
I
dude.
still have not seen it.
All right, thank you for watching. This has been the Dadless Podcast. But yeah, point is, keep the same people if you want. That's all fine and dandy. But make something new, make something creative. Like the next big thing I'm looking forward to, Oppenheimer. I am stoked for Oppenheimer, but that's because I'm a Cillian Murphy fan. Like he's fucking legit.
I don't knock you for that because Cillian Murphy he's amazing. But here is something that I wanted to bring up, but I don't have enough info to pull from to like kind of debate it or to, speak on it like too much in depth. I feel as though if a studio has enough time and has a team and has the money invested, they can make a movie out of anything. And this kind of touches on the same thing. We could have had an original story with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
As opposed to utilizing
a historical event
and constructing it in a way that is very cinematic and fucking profound and all this, crazy shit.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to have
whatever historical event. I could understand that because that's very true. I mean, at that point you could just make a movie out of every historical event. But I feel like that's just something that I'm interested in. Like I'm a big history guy and like I like all that shit. So I think that's why I'm looking forward to it. And on top of that, it's a bunch of great actors, and Josh Peck is in it, and I have to watch it. While it might be based off of a historical event, like you said, at least it's something out of left field, where even though it's happened, at least we'll leave the theater maybe thinking about it a little bit more and having something to talk about. Whereas Little Mermaid, it's like, I've seen it. To be fair, I haven't seen this one. Maybe it's new and whatever, but baseline, worst thing is it brings in a new fan base of younger kids, and that's always a good thing. But for people that have already seen that as a young kid, maybe it's just not for us.
I've recently fallen into a trend of watching original short films on YouTube. If you're a newer artist or a newer studio and you're trying to get your work out there, you're trying to get something that a studio can invest in to build off of, in lines of like an original IP. I've been watching a lot of short films, and I'm like, why aren't there more investments and stuff like this?
It doesn't sell. It's not a big name.
It's unfortunate because I have so much more of an appreciation for like the stories that are being written and then made, for people to consume in this way. And I mean, I know it's only like based in horror, which I'm like, the thing is, we can only make so many horror movies based on like Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
There's only so many Conjuring movies that could be made.
So many paranormal activities.
So many. I think the newest one that I'm interested in seeing is like there's a new Insidious movie coming out at some point.
Insidious one was a banger though.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a great original story.
Yeah.
And I get that we are adding on to it, and this also touches on, the idea of like universes. That being said, I guess, that it's not much, it's an issue of financing and backing, to invest in these properties. It's unfortunate because a lot of these movies that I've seen, as short as they are, whether they're, they're no more than an hour, but they're fucking great, dude. Like the stories that people come up with, they're great. And it's like the time and the effort and the quality that they're putting out is fucking dope. But I mean, I guess that's maybe like a hard truth to it, is that there just isn't like the interest to invest in them.
Well, again, it goes back to the whole like people don't care so much about the quality anymore. It's like how much of it can you have and how much of it can you run dry. I would rather have a movie like that, like these short films that you're talking about. I'm not a big horror guy, but I'd much rather have that than Fast 10 Part 2 and 3.
Look at Ludacris did that interview recently where they asked him like, about the movies and the reactions that people have. And he was like, yo, like we make fucking billions off these movies. So it doesn't matter if they fucking suck or if they're bad. Like we make fucking money off of these.
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, to tie into that, the idea extended universes and in some cases multiverses. Conceptually, are they bad for
business?
Are they bad, I guess in like perpetuity? I seen a reel that connected Hereditary to Midsummer.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's the same people behind it.
They were like, what makes you think that they're within the same universe? And it was one specific scene. You don't notice it.
Okay.
And they slowed it down, and it's like, yeah, the couple from Midsummer, like Florence Pugh and the whoever the actor is,
did this at this time.
And they're there in the scene in during this other separate film. And it's like, oh, that's the connection. That's the universe. To tie that into, like Insidious or The Conjuring. These are movie universes. All this shit is taking place. Like The Conjuring is taking place within the accounts of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
So this is all the bullshit that they did, quote unquote, during their lifetime. But it's, the same thing. The Conjuring, it all takes place, which I guess The Conjuring, it's like, it makes a little more sense just because it's all whittled down to like one specific focal point. Look at like the reactions that people have to Marvel movies. And it's specifically in this last phase that we've had. A lot of the Marvel movies that we've seen in this multiverse now, in this Universal franchise, haven't been good. The reception has not been good.
And what has been good, Shang-Chi, right? That was pretty solid. Guardians.
That was a solid movie. Guardians 3 was amazing. Guardians 3 was fucking amazing. It was the continuation of their specific universe and what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. There were no other Avengers. It was tying up the loose ends of their story.
Right.
And it was good. In comparison to that, which, hey, shout out, respect, and love, Chadwick, Black Panther 2, although it was tying up loose ends and it had its moments, it was underwhelming, I would say.
I really liked it.
I felt that it was underwhelming in comparison to the initial like impact that one had.
I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever had a very unique circumstance, right? Where it's like, what do we do now?
It's not that it wasn't, acceptable. It definitely was. But I felt that issue of loss, it set the tone of that movie. I felt that the entirety of that movie was, I guess, in a sense, the process of grieving someone.
Yeah.
It was loss is what we were dealing with. And I felt that they painted that very specifically, but it impacted a lot of like the action sequences, some of the acting. I felt that subject matter, like the introduction of the Ironheart character.
Right, yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. The armor that the Dora Milaje ended up using at the end. Angela Bassett, in stark comparison.
She did great.
The pain.
She deserved an Oscar.
What stuck out was the pain, was the grieving, we felt the loss of a mother.
Yeah.
And she made us feel that. And it was almost overwhelming. It was real fucking emotion and it was amazing.
I am queen of the most powerful nation in the world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything?
There was certain details within that movie that I felt for every 2 steps they took, it took a step back.
Yeah.
There were just certain things that fell very flat. I felt that took away from that movie.
I think I could respect that opinion. Overall, though, for me, comparing that to the likes of Doctor Strange, comparing that to the likes of Thor that we had in the same phase.
I felt Thor
did.
And I said it, and shout out to the boy and Hobby in the call-in episode that I had with them. And now in recent like statements, I think they've even said like, "Hey, it was just goofy."
I mean, yeah, even Chris Hemsworth said that like,
okay,
yeah, I don't want that to be Thor.
I didn't want to misquote that, but yes, there was like the general consensus was like, "Hey, like, yeah, we didn't do a good job."
Dude, this guy in the comics right now is popping off, and it's like, you're telling me that he is like this goofy character that we're getting now? And it's like, why? We don't want to laugh with Thor. We have other characters for that. We want to feel like Thor is this, badass Norse god, just like he was. I mean, I don't know if you saw like the playthroughs for God of War, Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Super good depiction of Thor. Great depiction of Thor. And it's like, why can't we get that? We got that in Avengers, right? And then they saw in, what was it? Was it Thor Ragnarok?
The thing with Ragnarok was that
it had a good mix.
It definitely, like, not to take away from Taika Waititi, because he did an amazing job on that first venture.
Yeah, he did great.
And then it took, like, a left turn.
Yeah.
At whatever the fuck
that was.
And it's unfortunate, and it's something that I've talked about with the Nomad as well, in the past. These were storylines that were, like, based on the source material, were fucking amazing.
Dude, Gore had the potential, and they had Christian Bale.
They had Gore the God Butcher, because Gore was like on another level within source material.
Yeah.
And I feel
he didn't reach that potential.
He didn't.
He could have been a big bad for a whole phase.
He could have broken through that whole phase in itself. Not to speak on it at length, but the introduction of Gore the God Butcher within the source material, with introducing Null the symbiote god, that's all crazy shit that happens within these arcs. And we made a fucking comedy, you know?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
And here's going back to that, you just brought up Null, right? And then you brought up this whole multiversal thing, is it good, is it bad? It has the potential to be really good. Say Thor went a different route. Thor, it just introduces Gore the God Butcher. It introduces Null, because that's obviously his sword, right? Then you have a way to bring in Venom. You have a way to add that into the multiverse and now make it canon. But instead you add it in a goofy ass way where he's in Cancun or wherever the fuck he is. And it's you have so many opportunities, but yet you're sacrificing that for laughs when you could have this really cool plot, this really cool story you used to have. And it's where did that go? I think about back where it's Endgame to me is still that was the end of my enjoyment of Marvel, my genuine enjoyment of Marvel, because that brought in so much. And it's they did the multiverse right, where it's if you move this piece, it messes up this piece over here and you have the potential to split the whatever. And it's okay, you're doing it right. But now it's what's going on? The only way that I feel this is still somewhat okay is the fact that Loki is still in the mix from his show. And they have Kang now, and which I don't even know if they have Kang now.
We might not even have Namor.
Yeah, he got caught up too, huh? Well, he denies it, but we don't know any of that.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. And I feel that's been happening a lot more recently.
It's happened to a lot of people. A lot of this shit has been happening lately with people from all facets of different industries.
Well, you see that? Did you see the Conor McGregor thing?
Mm-hmm. John Morant. What's my boy that's fucking hooping that was riding around with a fucking
Zion?
Yep.
Zion Williamson?
Oh my god.
They said that they're going to do a documentary because they came out with the same in the same draft class, Zion and Ja, and they're going to title it Guns and Buns.
We're living in tumultuous times.
Weird. If all this stuff did happen, bring it to light and expose it and bring them to justice. But I feel really bad for the people that are it's just for fame, notoriety, whatever it is. I don't know. We'll see what happens with majors and yeah.
De Noche Huerta?
Yeah.
What do you feel about the contrast between animated films and live action films? And the idea that the emotions that are invoked in between both types of film, or I guess the way that we consume them, because you could easily say the same thing about animation, like a series.
I love it, dude. I love both modalities. I think me growing up, I was more I grew up watching animated stuff, whether it was cartoons, whether it was anime. That's just what I watched. That's what my parents put on for me, and that's just what I leaned more towards. And growing up playing video games, obviously that's all animated, whatever. But I love the real stuff, right? I know that there are people out there, though, that feel animated stuff just isn't as good because it doesn't show real human emotion. But for me, consuming media has always been, do I enjoy it? Am I getting some sense of fulfillment, satisfaction watching this? I don't care about critics. I make my own critique on whatever it is I'm watching. And if I walk out of a theater, if I turn on a show and I turn it off and I feel good about myself, that's what matters to me. I don't care about is it animated? Is it not? Is it real? Is it actually depicting people? Or are you watching freaking Monsters Inc., where these are all fantastical beings that, it is what it is? Or you have the mix of live action and animation, Fantastic Beasts, right? From the Harry Potter universe, where it's obviously you have these fantastical creatures, or Game of Thrones, where you have the dragons and stuff, and then you have the real people. It's it's bringing both together, showing that they could coexist. I don't lean more towards one than the other, but I do find myself watching more animated films or animated stuff, but that's because it's mostly shows, and that's really all I have time for is shows. It's just what I lean more towards in terms of what I have time for, not what I prefer.
I think there is a very gray area for me, because I think that within animation you can do a lot more. the biggest example that I've said before is I feel that Harry Potter would be amazing as a long form animated, medium.
They are.
Because within the books, there's so much more context and detail, and you can use that. And I feel as though, you animate them and you progressively make them, I mean, maybe not in this way, but you make them progressively just darker in tone, and, you differentiate like the animation style as like the seasons go on, or as, the volumes go on. Mm-hmm. It just adds to the, kind of the sequential way that everything moves.
Right.
I think a lot more can be done with animation. Obviously, we have the freedom to do
whatever you want to do.
Whatever you want.
I've watched films or live action stuff where I'm like, shoot, dude, like that hits hard. Like in the most recent Guardians. That gut-wrenching scream that Rocket gives out. Dude, I felt that. Yeah, he's animated, but it's live action.
You win the crank contest. Back in the cage.
It's the portrayal of a real entity, because Rocket obviously he's an animal, but he's also
not. Well, okay. Then let me give you this as an example. Angela Bassett.
Yes.
It invokes that same intensity, but I think it's easier to show that in animation in terms of like, because you have the freedom and the liberty of doing whatever you want with it. Whereas live action, you have to let a well-trained, talented actor or actress do that. And I feel like without them, it's hard to get that same feeling. Because I don't get that from watching, I don't know, The Flash. I'm not talking about the movie that just came out. I'm talking about like the show. Like, cool, it's The Flash. The Flash is cool, but I don't feel any type of way towards it. So, and nothing against the actor in The Flash, but it's just he's not that great of an actor, and maybe it's just not that great of a plot. Nothing, like I said, not him, but it's just the source material is not as great. I think for me, it's just invoking that intensity. I think bringing it back like full circle, you can do that with any type of medium. I just think it's preference. I know some people don't like that kind of stuff, but I would say be open to it, because otherwise you're missing a whole section of good media in a time where that's kind of lacking, maybe, in my opinion.
I feel like as consumers right now, especially with the multitude of services that there are, and kind of like that proverbial like one-upsmanship of like, well, we have this.
We have the gold membership. We have ad-free, whatever.
This series is doing fucking amazing over here exclusively. I think that these businesses, it's not so much like making a good product, but it's like, what will people buy into? That is good enough, And
it's crazy because how long has The Office been out for? Years. People will get a Peacock subscription just to rewatch something that's been out for years, and they know that. We're probably like, oh man, like they're dumb for doing that. They're dumb for removing it from Netflix and putting it on their own thing or whatever. They are smart for doing that, and we're the dumb ones for buying into it. I'm not calling anyone listening to this dumb per se, but it's crazy that we are that easily influenced to just consume.
Put it in like weeb terms. For that little bit that Disney Plus said, we're going to buy the exclusive rights to the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War. If you want to watch it, you got to get Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. But I only have Crunchyroll.
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to be you, right? I think it boils down to business now.
I think it's up to the person to determine what's valuable to them and what's not. I would just encourage people to not be easily influenced by these companies that just want you to take, and then you're just giving up all your finances. Unless you got it like that, unless you got it like that. But I do not have it like that, so I will stick to what I have.
Everyone knows at the end of the day, there's only going to be like 3 streaming services, and they don't give a fuck how good anything is. Butters, I think you've had too many popsicles. Yeah, I think maybe I had one too many popsicles.
Well, I appreciate you.
Likewise.
What are you currently watching, reading, playing?
Playing Cyberpunk, watching Cyberpunk, playing Diablo 4. Really good.
Amazing ratings out the gate.
It's the fastest selling Blizzard game of all time. I think it's 6.6 million within the first week. Playing that, watching that, I'm about to watch the Black Clover movie right now when we get out of here. Watching Demon Slayer, trying to keep current with that. I know the last episode comes out this Sunday, but I'm like 5 episodes behind.
So like the whole fucking season?
No. Maybe. I don't know how many episodes are in this season. Reading has slowed down, but the last book I was reading was Song of Achilles. Aside from that, dude, I don't think much else. I think that's it right now. That's it. What about you?
I am watching a lot of short films on YouTube. Please, I encourage anyone who has some time on their hands to dip their toe into that world of independent film, especially on YouTube because it's so accessible to everybody.
You know what I just realized? I realized that indie films stand for independent films.
Good for you.
Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
So I'm definitely doing that. A lot of YouTube, but Demon Slayer as well. I'm not reading, but, Audible. Shout out Audible. Joey Diaz autobiography came out. It's fucking amazing. It hits you even harder that it's him telling his own story.
Right.
And him speaking on like certain events the way he does. It's just, it adds to like how candid and how like emotional they are. I don't know. I'm just here surviving.
Hey, living.
I'm trying. Hopefully this builds into more episodes.
Yeah, let's plan for it. It was fun.
Shout out to you for, getting me out of the house. You know where to find us. We have a link tree, all our links and social media. And
shout out to Germany, man.
hey, shout out to Germany for keeping us fucking
afloat.
Y'all are the real ones.
Yeah.
Shout out you, my boy.
Yeah.
I'm the elder. He's HD. Anyway, see you later.